What's up? So, hey everybody.
Hey.
The wizard is getting us wasted. I'm just kidding. Welcome everybody to another week of Case Files with Kat.
And Ashley.
She's drinking. She's drinking. You knew it was coming.
Yeah,
That's the part. You started to take a sip.
Sorry.
You took a sip as I was saying, hey everybody. That's what, it's so funny. Anyways.
I've been visited by both of my support cats already today, so
yeah.
My night's complete.
And the wizard who is just refilling your lemon drop concoction. That's the lemon drop talking, y'all.
She's only had one.
Oh Lord, what a night. So actually tonight we're recording. It's election night. So I think that we're probably drinking a little bit more than usual, but we're going to get through this. We're going to make it. We're going to get through this night unscathed. And you'll drive home nice and buzzed.
I live so far away.
I know. I don't have to drive. You know what I am drinking though? Besides this lemon drop concoction. Sorry. It's called
shit. I don't know the sound bite for that.
It's called Howdy. Howdy. Low dose THC beverage. Has 5 milligrams. It's a lemonade. It's made in Texas. And it says drink your greens, folks. I thought I'd try it. I don't know.
Is that one of the Eighth Wonder ones or no?
I don't know. I don't think
I'm just
so.
not, because Eighth Wonder makes a whole line of them now.
It is Eighth Wonder.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It is.
That's
out of Houston.
It's called Eighth Wonder. They have a dispensary now in Houston. So at the brewery, they sell pre-rolls, gummies. They have like a gummy vending machine.
Oh, dang.
They have flour.
Y'all
they got
legalize
THC beers.
Legalize it, tax it from the schools. Okay, here we go. So, do you have anything to talk about? I mean,
not really.
No,
I don't ever really. I'm just over here enjoying my lemon drop. Is there like a bell I can ring when I need a refill? Or like...
I'll find one.
Just kidding.
Hold on.
I'm sure he would love that and never make us drinks again.
Garçon. Are we recording right now? That's the thing.
I don't know. Are we ever? I don't know what we're doing.
Did I hit record? Okay. Okay. So we took a week off. So if you need to be caught up, I'm not going to do that right now.
Okay, correction. We just took a week off from your story.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yes. I'm sorry. Correction. You are correct. We are picking back up my Bamber White House Farm murders story. And I can't do a total recap because that will take 15 minutes because I don't know how to do short recaps. But Jeremy Bamber has been charged and found guilty by a jury of his peers 10-2 for being guilty of the murders of his parents and sister and her twin boys. He has been found guilty. This was in 1988. In the UK, a life sentence usually is at 25 years. You get a chance to get a chance to parole. So if he's been a model inmate, he gets that opportunity. But in December of 1994, then Home Secretary Michael Howard made it official that Jeremy was going to remain in prison for the rest of his life.
Gosh.
He was like, nope, like made an example of him.
And if you guys didn't listen to the first part, go back because the evidence that they had that got him convicted is ridiculous. Anyways, that's just my 2 cents.
It is actually quite ridiculous. Like for like, because I'm reading the story going, but what? Huh? So I first watched, it was a documentary. I think it was called The White House Murders. I watched this documentary and I remember watching it going, this is ridiculous. Like, how did this even go to trial? Like, I didn't really understand it. And then I found this New Yorker article. Did the UK's most infamous family massacre end in a wrongful conviction? And this was an an article written by Heidi Blake, and this really opened up the case again.
Okay.
So it's all being re-looked at because of this New Yorker article, which is really cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
So Heidi Blake gives the history of this article, of the story of the Bambers and all of that. And she introduces a character. And so I'll sort of pick up there. And this comes from the Heidi Blake article. 23 years later, Sarah Hanover was at loose ends. She was 37 and living alone in a remote Midlands hamlet. A long-term relationship had ended, and her business, a small art gallery, had gone bust. Searching for something to occupy her mind, she picked up a book about the White House farm killings and found herself engrossed. Bamber was one of Britain's most reviled murderers, a, quote, resident monster of public imagination, in Ken Smith's words. But as Hanover read about the evidence that had secured his conviction, she began to question his guilt.
Yes, girl. Yes.
Yes. So, like, if she doesn't have a true crime podcast, she needs one. That's what I'm saying. Not to compete with ours. Okay. So, I'm going to continue.
She could be on ours.
I know she could be on ours. I'm going to continue. The prosecution's assertion that Sheila couldn't have dominated her father physically seemed to overlook the fact that Neville had evidently been shot 4 times upstairs before he was finally killed in the kitchen. So he wasn't this, like, I'm going to take a break from this. So he wasn't like awesome 60 something and in perfect health when he died.
Yeah.
And she had already shot him.
Yeah.
So totally ignoring the fact that there's blood coming down the stairs and he was finally killed in the kitchen.
Or not to ignore the fact that maybe he didn't want to fight his daughter. Maybe he was in shock that his daughter was trying to kill them.
I mean, that too. You could easily overpower, this is quote, you could easily overpower a man that had been shot and was bleeding, Hanover told me. She also puzzled over Mugford's role. If my boyfriend had access to guns and he told me he was going to murder his family, I would have gone to the police. She became increasingly preoccupied with the case. Eventually, at a friend's urging, she wrote Bamber. In time, Hanover had come to believe Bamber. You know, from his nature that he didn't do it, she told me. I would trust him with my life. Wow. She decided to help him re-examine his case. He sent her copies of thousands of records that he kept in his cell. And after contacting attorneys who had represented him over the years, she drove up and down the country collecting documents.
Dang.
Then she took them all back to her thatched cottage and started to read. Hanover was surprised to discover that many of the people who had been instrumental in securing the verdict against Jeremy were enriched by his conviction. This is what I mentioned last time. Since murderers are forbidden to inherit money from their victims, June and Neville's fortune had passed to his aunt, his uncle, and his cousins. And remember when I said they were all in trouble last time?
Yeah.
So they lived on a plot of land, like all this acreage. And so the Bambers, June and Neville, they had some land they gave to the cousins to let them use as like rental properties.
Yeah.
Well, if Jeremy was going to inherit all of that, that was keeping them afloat. So if he was going to inherit all of that, he was going to sell it all. And they were like, we can't afford for you to sell it all.
Yeah.
So it was not in their best interest to let Jeremy have it. And so you could see where the motive for them to concoct that wacko story he did, you know, how he did it. And the police officer believed him.
Well, my thing was I never understood why the sister would go through killing them and then kill herself. Why wouldn't she just kill them? And the fact that the police, I don't know. There's so much from the first episode that just didn't make sense to me.
You don't know why she would kill everyone and then kill herself?
Yeah. Like, why would she kill her son if she was mad at her parents? Like, why would she kill her son?
She killed both of her sons.
I know. Like, I don't know. It's also...
So you
like,
don't think that Sheila killed everybody?
I don't think that either one of the sister or the brother. Like, I don't think Jeremy had a reason to do it. Because he was just going to sell everything anyways. And I don't think
Sheila had so many mental health issues. Remember, she had said that she wanted to hurt her children. She was
yeah, that's true. And the children were scared.
She was suicidal. She thought that her children were going to seduce her. She thought that they were evil.
Yeah.
She thought that they were like devil kids.
Yeah.
Which is 100% what was coming from her mom. Right. Like her mom would call her an evil beauty and would say spawn of Satan and shit like that. Yeah. Like all of that hyper religious stuff was coming from her mom. But also when I called you, okay, so sidebar here. Last week at work, we had a shooter, someone say that they wanted to come and shoot up my place of business. And so we had to go on lockdown. The week before this incident, she had been saying that she was suicidal. And then the following week or so, she said, I'm out for blood. And she was going to come and shoot up our building. Mental health wise and substance abuse wise, who knows what was happening with Sheila, but just because you're suicidal doesn't mean you're not homicidal as well. Yeah. I mean, people who go postal, in quotes, they almost all die. Yeah. I mean, I don't think that there's a will to live. Yeah.
There was just so much conflicting. Like the police who said they saw a woman in the window and then they said they didn't see her.
Well, I'm going to get to that part.
Like
there's
so a lot. Angry for Jeremy.
I'm same. And I think that's what Heidi Blake is trying to get at here. Okay. Back to the story. Nope. That's me too. So Anne and her husband, Peter, this is the cousins of Jeremy and Sheila. Okay. So Anne, the cousin, and her husband, Peter, were in a more precarious position at the time of the murders. They had significant debts and were hoping to profit from the Little Renters, a modest 50-acre farm that Neville had bought at their request to let them have. Anne had dreamed of living at Vaulty, a prospect that seemed to be drawing nearer as Speakman grew increasingly fail. But so that was one of the renters.
Okay.
But a few weeks before the shootings, Bamber had told her that his family intended to buy Vaulty for themselves using money gained by selling Little Renters. She was so furious that she tore down all the wallpaper in her bathroom. This is a quote, what Jeremy had told me was a threat, she said to police. What Jeremy told me was a threat. It starts to get a little bit wonky here. After the murders, the jeopardy only heightened. With June dead, Bamber stood to inherit half of his grandmother's estate. Robert Boutfleur, who was so alarmed that he arranged for Speakman on her deathbed to cut Bamber out of her will. Still, Bamber remained June and Neville's heir, meaning that he could still sell Little Renters whenever he chose. 23 years later, a 37-year-old failing art gallery owner, Sarah Hanover, picked up a book about the case and was hooked. And she was all about it. Like this was, she started reading about this and she was like, that's it. I'm going to take over. Because the prosecution's assertion that Sheila couldn't have dominated her father seemed ridiculous, right?
Mm-hmm.
Having the boyfriend who has all these guns and is saying, I'm going to kill everybody, and she doesn't say anything and stands by her man at the funeral, she never said he was violent towards her. So there was never like a fear for her life, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it was like, no, I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to let him just cry and hang on his every word and dote on him. That's how everyone said she was after the funeral, or at the funeral and during the funeral and all of that. So by the time that Hanover reached out to Bamber, he had already been through 2 failed appeals. They were not even going to hear it. They were not going to hear it. He made multiple unsuccessful applications to the Criminal Cases Review Commission, CCRC, which examines potential miscarriages of justice. Now, in the UK and in the United States, I'm not going to just say in the UK, but everywhere, there are cases like the Central Park 5 and, you know, the Mississippi 3 or whatever, things that you see these cases and they're like, oh yeah, we fucked up. Y'all are good. Sorry, our bad. So this is what the Criminal Cases Review Commission was tasked to do, was to find these miscarriages of justice. So he complained repeatedly about police malfeasance because it was just an open crime scene. They didn't save anything. But those claims were dismissed after inquiries by the City of London Police and Scotland Yard had happened. Yet he wrote to Hanover and he remained determined to prove his innocence. He's 100% said he's innocent this entire time.
Yeah.
So Hanover learned and was interested to learn that Julie Mugford, the girlfriend, recounted what Bamber had told her about the crime. Some of her testimony seemed to sound a lot like what the cousin said happened. Like how he pulled off the murder was how Julie was describing what he told her. How the cousin said he pulled off the murder. So like really like that's kind of odd because it was very stretching of the wow, you have to really kind of stretch for that.
It's
Look,
weird that
there's a bike.
Like they would all have the same kind of story without actually being there.
Without the cousins just like there's a bike. He took a bike, you know, and just there's no it just it makes me so mad. Anyway, so Mugford had stated that the Bible was placed. Do you remember the Bible?
Yeah, I remember the Bible.
Open to the passage. Yeah. We don't know the Bible.
Next to the bodies.
We had to look it up. Next to Sheila.
Yeah.
Mugford had stated that the Bible was placed on Sheila's chest, something a police officer had told Anne, even though it was actually beside her.
Yes, so I thought you had said it was beside her. It was
beside her. So a police officer told Anne how the Bible was placed, and that's how Julie said.
Oh, weird.
So Julie said it was placed on her chest. No. But that's how Anne heard it. That's how Anne heard it. She also identified the kitchen window as an escape route and the bicycle as the getaway vehicle.
Who's going to murder someone and then pedal away? I mean,
with
just
the wetsuit. Don't forget the wetsuit.
Yeah, just because of how far back they're laying, like the long lengths of the drive or whatever to this place. It's not like it was in a random neighborhood and you biked a couple of streets over. Like this was
miles along.
That's what I'm saying.
Ocean.
Like I can't imagine anybody in a wetsuit climbing through a window, murdering people, climbing out a window, getting on a bike.
But hold on,
calling the police and then
there was
driving
no
there.
Blood on the sink into the window.
Yeah, I'm just saying none of it makes sense.
If you're covered in blood,
yeah,
you're gonna leave blood.
Yeah, especially in a wetsuit
in a window.
Yeah.
There's no blood going out of the house.
Yeah.
But they're saying it's the window. God, just me. Okay. The family denied, of course, discussing their theories with the girlfriend, but other claims were just plainly incorrect. She said Neville had been shot 7 times. She said that after it was already published in the newspapers. So she's reading the newspapers and it was printed erroneously. Let me say that. So that wasn't correct, but she said that's what happened.
And these people are just taking her word.
Yes.
The scorned ex-girlfriend?
Yes. Okay. And that June had been shot in her sleep. She died in the doorway. She wasn't asleep. She was dressed and in the doorway. Uh-huh. Okay. The trial judge had cited Dr. Ferguson's testimony that he did not consider Sheila likely to harm her father or children as key evidence.
She literally said didn't she literally say she would kill her kids?
Yes.
I'm sorry. By the same psychiatrist who misdiagnosed the mother?
Yes. Okay.
This is such a ridiculous.
So as Sarah Hanover dug into the psychiatrist's background, that's the lemon drop, she learned that this was not the only time he was involved in a case of a mass shooting. Guess what?
Shocking.
He got that shit wrong too.
Oh, wow.
So Ferguson had assessed a teacher, Paul Paget Lewis, who had been stalking one of his pupils and concluded that he was not mentally ill and should be allowed to keep his job. Guess what happens?
He was stalking a pupil. I feel like the mental illness was present.
After Paget Lewis threw a brick through the boy's window and slashed his father's car's tires.
This guy, how is he still a psychiatrist? Anyways, go on.
It's not funny, but
I mean, I'm not laughing at the situation. I'm laughing at how ridiculous the fact that this guy is still a psychiatrist and they're taking his word as if it's just like 100%. Could not be wrong.
Legit. Okay. So after he threw the brick through the boy's window, slashed the father's car's tires, Ferguson recommended that he be transferred to teach elsewhere. It's like sending a priest who's raping children just to another church. It's fine. It's fine. I'll be fine.
Yeah.
The teacher subsequently shot 4 people, killing the boy's father and the son of the school's deputy headmaster. When he was arrested, he asked the police, "Why didn't you stop me before I did it?"
What?
I gave all the warning signs.
My God.
Let me repeat that. This is a quote. "Why didn't you stop me before I did it? I gave all the warning signs." That's what I'm talking about. That girl who wanted to shoot up my work, she's giving all the warning signs. You know what I'm saying?
But like, if he knew that he was giving the warning signs, why didn't he stop himself?
He was not mentally able to.
But he was mentally able to realize he was giving the warning signs that he was going to do it?
He needed help.
Okay.
I mean, he got arrested and he got sent to things and people are like, "You're fine." And he's like, "I'm probably not fine." And "You're good. Just drink some tea, you know?
Sleep on it.
Have some biscuits." All right. So Ferguson did not respond to the questions about his assessments of Sheila and Paget Lewis. Not a surprise. This is from the article. Still, the blood in the silencer seemed to render everything else irrelevant. Do you remember the silencer?
Oh, you mean the one that the family handled and they found it and handled it and sent it in as evidence?
Yes.
Like 6 different people touched it.
Her eyebrows like went to her hairline.
I mean,
oh, you mean? Yes. Okay. The biggest breakthrough for Bamber's case came in 2001 after the first DNA tests were run on the device and failed to find Sheila's profile. Scientists did find DNA from at least 2 other people whom they could not identify because the blood evidence in the case had been mysteriously destroyed a few years earlier. Nonetheless, the absence of Sheila's DNA was enough for the Criminal Cases Review Commission to refer Jeremy's case for a fresh appeal. If Sheila's blood was not in the silencer, the commission stated the remaining evidence would not be sufficiently secure so as to maintain the safety of a conviction.
Oh, shit.
Because he would have had the they're saying if the silencer was on and it was Sheila's blood, she wouldn't have been able to shoot herself with it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't Sheila's blood. So she could have shot herself.
Yeah.
It calls into question all of that. Because why would he have the silencer on, shoot everybody, and then go and put it just...
Without cleaning it.
Without... He'd do everything
Wasn't there
else.
a random hair on it or something?
A gray hair. But that could have been any...
Yeah, I just remember it was so ridiculous
God.
when they were talking about it.
There are also 2 questions over whether Sheila could have left a suicide note. Huge.
She did or
this
didn't,
is huge.
Right?
When Stan Jones, the investigator, was questioned before Bamber's appeal in 2002, he offered an intriguing explanation for the initial assumptions about the crime. Quote, "You've got a note saying, 'I've killed myself.' So it was treated as 4 murders and a suicide," he said.
But it wasn't treated like 4 murders and a suicide.
The detective, who has since died, was not asked further about the matter, and the possibility of a suicide note was never raised during trial. God dog it. But among the documents disclosed subsequently were 2 undated letters signed Babs. "Oh, Mummy, don't you think I have feelings also in this floating space I am in? one read, quote, "As soon as the dirt is dug up and the public know, then my darling mummy, my babies, and me go to our rest." If that doesn't sound like a murder-suicide note, I don't know what does. As soon as the dirt is dug up and the public know, then my darling mummy, my babies, and me go to our rest.
It's the most poetic suicide note at that.
Well, they're very smart. Yeah. Hello. Basically, the New Yorker piece just blew the lid off this case. This is from the Telegraph article. All of this is linked in the show notes, same as the last one. Okay, so this is from the Telegraph. It's brought to light several pieces of information that Bamber supporters hope will make a difference. One is the question of the 999 call, or calls, plural. Scotland Yard records suggested Bamber's had not been the only one, but that a second call to police was made at 6:09 a.m. from inside the house.
Shit.
Inside. So they were still, this is when everyone's outside before they, remember, so they're there in the middle of the night. Yeah. Everyone's outside and they're like, nope, we're going to wait till first light.
Right. Which also didn't make sense.
They see a kid, they see a woman in the window and they're going to wait.
Right.
Okay. By this time, Bamber was outside the house with officers, the obvious implication that someone in the house was still alive at this time. Essex Police later produced a statement in the name of an officer called Nicholas Milbank, which made no mention of any 999 call at that time. But when the New Yorker spoke to Milbank recently, he said a call had indeed come in at 6:09 a.m. from inside the farmhouse, though the caller hadn't spoken to him. He told the magazine he had never made the statement that was put out in his name. This clearly exonerates Jeremy completely because he was outside the farm and that call can only have been made by Sheila, says Philip Walker, a spokesman for Bamber and a member of the Jeremy Bamber Innocence campaign. If that 999 call happened, there's no question he's not guilty. Another revelation comes from, remember I told you I was going to tear it all apart? Yeah. And that's why it was going to take me so long and I didn't want to keep going. This is why. Another revelation comes from Detective Superintendent Neil Davidson, who was deputy to the late Detective Inspector Ron Cook, the lead crime scene officer. While the bodies were being examined at the farmhouse, Cook, quote, lifted the Bible up and had a look at it, said Davidson. He said he remembered Cook had been fumbling with it before asking which page it had been open on, and then replacing it by Sheila's body before the crime scene photographs were taken. In Davidson's words, the aim had been to, quote, recreate what we just screwed up, end quote.
So the Bible, like the page it was on was totally random? Great.
It might have been. Someone might have been, no, it was on this page. Someone might have remembered. You know, some people are super good about that kind of stuff.
Seems like it in this case.
But where was it really laying? Did he put it exactly where it was? I don't know. So at Bamber's last appeal, a court of appeal justice said that for, quote, an officer to disturb the scene is a moral sin. Bamber reportedly hopes that new evidence suggesting such a disturbance might have occurred will provide grounds for another re-examination of his case. Not that any of this other stuff shouldn't warrant that, but oh my God. But now we have to wait and see. So this is where we are. So we're still in the wait and see department at this point. But if you look at every single piece of evidence that the prosecution put forth, there is evidence saying another thing now. So they said that they had this. First of all, the silencer shouldn't have been admitted into evidence. There was no chain of custody. It had been handled by everybody under the sun. There was hair. There wasn't hair. There was blood. Was there blood? Nobody knows. You know, the blood of the other people had been destroyed. So they can't even see if it was the kids or if it was the parents. You know, there's no way to know. Chances are it was, if there's blood in there, it might have been the children or it might have been Neville and June, who knows?
Yeah.
But the kids were asleep. So you'd imagine that the silencer was on for them because they were so like peacefully asleep.
Yeah.
The theory of how Jeremy performed the murders. What is that? Committed the murders, like performed the murders. Like,
I was trying to figure out what you meant, but then I got
he was dancing on the stage. How he committed the murders was 100% fabricated, like totally made up by his family, which the police then adopted, and then the girlfriend repeated. Yeah. So how is that a scorned ex-girlfriend with a story that sounded awfully similar but was incorrect to information that was only shared with the family?
Yeah.
Just things like that. It's like how, like, just picking it apart. The 999 call, what the fuck? There's so much. Mm-hmm. There's so much. And the fact that you have to believe that he had a wetsuit on.
I don't believe that he would have killed the children. I think he would have just killed the parents.
I don't think he would have killed those children. I don't think he would have killed Sheila either.
Yeah. I think if that was really his goal, I think he would have just killed his parents.
And then Sheila would have been like, that's cool, take it. Like, I don't want, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I can't see.
There was no animosity.
Had no reason to kill the children.
He had no animosity toward his sister. He was like, yeah, she's a kook, but he didn't hate her.
Yeah.
But he hated them. Sure.
Yeah.
But it's like, they weren't that loving and great either.
Yeah.
Mm.
I just don't think he would have killed the kids. Because they had absolutely nothing to do with it. From his perspective, if he was going to, I don't feel like he had a reason to kill the kids.
Right. And I don't think he did either. So where we are now is we're in a wait and see. All of this has come forward.
He's still in jail?
He's still in jail. So this came
ridiculous.
out. Let me tell you when this came out. This story by Heidi Blank came out in July.
I think the Cool Crackers need to go over there and just finish this up real quick.
I'm telling you. So, okay, hold on. This is like the end of the article, towards the end of the article. The silencer, there is some question as to, and I think I told you this after we started recording last week, the silencer has a serial number, right?
Yeah.
Well, in the records, there are 2 serial numbers in the testing. So in some of the evidence that was used, it could have been another great silencer. Why was the silencer even allowed to be entered into evidence?
Yeah.
Like, wrong serial number? It's not like a number off. It's like just like a whole new serial number.
Yeah.
Right?
Not shocking.
Jesus Christ.
It's probably just made up numbers.
Huh? It's just like, what does she say? Okay. It had been David who found the silencer that secured Bamber's conviction. And there were 2 questions that I wanted to ask about it. The first was about a record buried in newly discovered material that appeared to indicate that forensic tests before the trial revealed another blood sample inside the silencer. The blood type listed did not match either Sheila or Robert Balfour, but it did match David. He greeted this news with uproarious laughter. I'm ready to go, he said, throwing up his hands. I'm ready to own up to it all. Curious about the unidentified DNA samples from inside the device, I asked if he might have cut himself while trying to unscrew the end of the silencer to examine its baffles during the family's kitchen table inspection. Just playing with it.
Yeah.
No, let's not touch it and preserve the evidence.
Yeah.
Have they never done any true crime, anything? Not one movie?
They knew I feel like they knew what they were doing.
He shrugged, and his wife, Karen, who'd been hovering nearby, interrupted anxiously. That never came up, she said. It was never asked. I did screw it, he said. I tried to turn it quite hard. I don't think you cut it, she insisted. But the skin tissue could have been there, couldn't it? He said, I could have had a bit of DNA on it.
What a weird thing to say between the two of them.
Because she's like, you didn't do it. You didn't do it. My second question related to another silencer, one from his personal collection, which happened to be...
From David's personal collection?
Which happened to be identical to the one recovered at the farm.
Oh my gosh.
Bamber's team has repeatedly raised suspicions that the police seized 2 silencers, suggesting that the jury was misled with evidence conflated from separate devices. The police and the prosecution have always denied those suggestions, despite records that appear to show silencers with 2 different reference numbers passing through the forensics lab. David said during the trial that the police had not seized his silencer, but now he told me that they had in fact taken it away for months and months.
God, I hope Jeremy gets out, and I hope he sues all of them for so much money. How long?
I don't know that you can. I don't know that you can sue.
How long has he been in jail for now?
Since 1985, I guess.
I would get out, and never mind. That's ridiculous. Like that he spent all of this time because these family members just wanted this land.
This is the end of the thing. Bamber's lawyers wrote to the prosecution seeking documents that could elucidate the matter, but the request was declined. We do not accept at this stage that 2 separate silencers were examined, the prosecutors wrote. Bamber sought a judicial review, and the High Court ultimately determined that CCRC, that's the reviewers, should re-examine his case. Many questions remain about how many silencers were examined, when they discovered, and when they were discovered, and whether they were adequately shielded from contamination, which we know 100% that they weren't. Yet the commission informed Bamber this past March, that it had no intention of seeking any fresh disclosure from the lab or of allowing Boyce to examine the hidden material. Boyce is a firearms expert. Bamber was desolate. I just burst into tears and thought, what on earth am I doing? He told me. I'm never going to win if they just won't look at it. He spoke of his fear of dying in prison. I hope to get out and maybe I can have a little life outside, he told me. But sometimes I don't think that I ever will. They'll just find ways to obstruct. He fell silent for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was more resolute. That doesn't change my innocence, he said. Just because you kept me in jail for 40 years, it doesn't make me guilty.
I feel so bad for this man. His whole life wasted when he's the one that was concerned about the parents in the first place and called the police because his sister's a nut job.
But he didn't speed to the farm. He was just like, well, another night with Sheila, like.
They probably would have given him a ticket if he was speeding.
I know, he probably saw the police lights and slowed down.
Who would have thought?
Because, I see police and I'm like, oh, no.
Yeah.
Maybe he'd had a little too much to drink. Maybe he was high. Maybe, slow down. It was late at night. And, another thing. They looked at girlfriend's diary. People write shit down, I don't know who. I should write a diary, but I don't. But I should. And she did. And she said in her diary that he had talked to her. He called her because he did. He called her after he talked to his dad. And he said, hey, Sheila's gone off her rocker. I'm heading down to the farm. My dad called and I'm heading down to the farm. Not, it's happening tonight and I'm shooting them all up, which she had said on the stand, was that he was like, it's happening tonight. That is not what was written in her diary.
I feel like if that is the case, she should have also been arrested
for perjury, but it's been so many years.
Well, just for, if that is according to her what happened, she should be arrested for accessory for not reporting it. Like for knowing the crime was going to happen.
Ooh, girl, you're right.
Like she knew the murder was going to happen. He was on his way to do it and she didn't do anything.
Well, when she confessed, when she went to the police, she asked for leniency for saying what she said.
What a joke.
But then when your diary says something different than what you testified. Is that not perjury?
Yeah.
I mean,
I feel like I just feel really bad for this guy.
I do. I feel really bad for him. I don't. Anyway, so this was printed in August, in the August 5th edition, if anybody has that on them. But it is online. I think you have to subscribe if there's a paywall for that New Yorker article. Unless you get your free one. This is my free one.
New Yorker's pretty cheap though. I have it for other stories we've done.
$1 a week for a year. That's it. It's not bad.
They do really good work.
I mean, really good work. Yeah. But so that's my story. That's the end of the story. I just think there's so much to it that it just breaks apart that entire first episode. Just like,
and how sad a random person was able to figure all of this out, but not the goddamn people who are hired to do it. She was just a bored person, and she was like, I'm going to read this. And she fucking figured it out. Like, how can they not?
I'm glad that this article exists, and I hope that it does spur something. I'm scared it won't. I do feel bad for Jeremy.
I feel bad for all the other people that these police and whatever have put in jail that may be innocent, because clearly they're not very good at what they're doing.
I feel bad for them. And you know what? I feel really bad for the family that died. I feel bad for those kids. I feel bad I feel bad for Sheila.
The father of the kids who said that the kids were scared to go with the Sheila.
Oh my God. I feel bad I feel bad for Sheila too, because Sheila has sort of been she had mental health issues, and so she's sort of, that's not a way to be remembered. You don't want to be remembered for your issues. You don't, I mean,
but to be fair,
she did kill everybody.
Serial killers have mental issues, and we can't feel bad for all of them.
No. But I think I
feel like she could have left the kids alive.
I think she could.
I mean, I know that she thought that they were. I
evil.
just feel like these kids just
let the father have them.
I don't know. Everything about this case just stresses me out and just upsets me. And hopefully, they figure out he is innocent and let him go.
Yeah.
Way to depress all of us.
I know. You know what?
Thanks. Not like we have anything else to depress us.
Womp womp. Anyway, so this comes out in a couple of days. So elections night is still going. Polls are still open. So I can't tell you to go vote. We probably should have said that last week.
I think we did.
Did we?
I don't know.
I don't know. But we're having drinks with all y'all tonight, and yeah.
If you see something, say something.
If you see something, say something. 100%. 100%. If you see something, say something. And don't say crazy shit though. Also.
Yeah. Don't lie.
Don't lie. Don't lie on people. That's a crazy thing too. Anyway, so you have a story for us next week?
I'm sure I will.
All right.
I think I'm doing a local case on the request of one of our newest fans.
Yay! So. Thank you. We love requests.
And just real quick, as I sent you, I discovered we were in the top percentage of quite a few categories of podcasts.
What?
For that. It's on our website.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
There was like 3 categories: aliens, conspiracies, and I think it was murders.
Maybe conspiracies equals cults, because they do a lot of cults.
Yeah, and then the other one was just the top 5% on listen notes. Anyways, all of the things that we have that we're in the top of are on our website.
From Good Pods, right?
Good Pods was the 3 categories. Listen notes, which is the most common thing that rates podcasts. We are in the top 5 for true crime.
What?
Out of like 3 million.
5%.
We were in the top 5% out
Not
of over.
top 5.
Yeah. No. Top 5% out of over 3 million podcasts, though, which might as well be top 5 in my eyes.
I mean, 5%. That's like 400,000. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I don't do math. Anyway, All right, you guys, we will see you next week. Until then, if you see something, say something, and just be kind, y'all. Be kind out there. It's going to get crazy. Just be kind. Please. All right, talk to you later.
Bye.